Well, I do a lot of this by comparison things with these shows because it's the only way to give them any kind of positive remarks. So after suffering through the wedding episode, which was god awful, this one is not as bad as that. But it's bad because it's She-Hulk. It's D plus She-Hulk. And it's just missed opportunities all over the place. It's the closest one that almost could have been funny here and there, but they just can't land it. So Jennifer starts dating the guy she met in the previous episode. So you say, oh, she meets a nice guy. He likes her as Jen, so she likes that and all this stuff. And they go on a date, and then eventually they bang. And then the next morning, he's gone. And she sends a little sweet message to him, and he doesn't respond. And then she kind of obsesses over, well, why isn't he? Well, maybe he just didn't get it, or he's been doing all this type of stuff, And she's really into the guy, and she's not hearing from him, and so she's pretty upset about it. Meanwhile, she gets a message not from him, but from Blonsky's parole guy, I guess, and his abomination inhibitor has malfunctioned or gone off, not giving off its signal, meaning he must have taken it off or whatever. And so she heads over to his retreat, which is the title of the episode, where his cult is by all his female fans, who we don't see at all. I don't know where they are, but they're the ones who provided him with this property and everything, so he become their love guru or whatever. And instead, it's all these men. But they're all characters from Marvel Comics, and they're there to just be jokes, and some of them, especially Porcupine. Yes, there is a Porcupine Man. I can understand that one. El Aguila, he was always kind of treated silly and whatnot. But anyway, Man Bull is there, and these are the type of characters that people who wanted to do a parody of superheroes would do characters like that. Like the Tick would handle that much better than this. But it is what it is. So anyway, it was all misunderstanding. Oh boy, it didn't mean for it to be, and everything's fine. But Man Bull and Aguila are having a fight because El Aguila, whatever, looks like a matador. And Man Bull, that's triggering for him, even though he explains it was some weird experiment that resulted in him becoming Man Bull. So what would he care about matadors? But anyway, so they keep fighting, and Blonsky's got to, teach them to control their rage and understand each other and all this stuff. But in the fight, they trashed Jen's car, so she can't leave. They're waiting on a wrecker. So in the meantime, she kind of joins the group, and they take her in their group therapy session and all that stuff. While she's obsessing over her phone, there's no Wi-Fi, or, she can't get a signal. She's trying real hard to get one to see if she's heard from her boyfriend. His name is Josh. I was thinking they were going to reveal that he's Wyatt Wingfoot, if you know anything about She-Hulk comics and Fantastic Four and stuff like that. Maybe they will later. I don't know. But anyway... so eventually they talk her into revealing herself and what her issues are. And for a moment, and this might be something they'll spring on the show at the very end, but for a moment there, I thought it was going to reveal that, Blonsky is up to something. And because it's like the show is so badly done and orchestrated that every now and then they'll toss a scene in there, like perhaps someone else did. Say, oh, by the way, there's someone after She-Hulk's blood. And so that this is what it would be. And so they convince her to change into her Jen form, to be a part of the group and her true self and all that. And that's all it is. At least that's how it's presented. Because previously, the last time, the wrecking crew showed up, even though you wouldn't recognize them if you knew them at all. And so the main guy, he shows up, and he's like, I changed my ways because of Blonsky. He helped me out and all that. And she's like, they get in a fight and everything, but, they convince her that, he's trying. and all that. So the fact that he's there and all that stuff, I thought, oh, so once she's vulnerable and she's Jen, then they would overpower her and they could, kidnap her for whatever nefarious purposes to get her She-Hulk blood for whatever they need it for. And then that would be that, But that's not what happens. They just keep going with their dumb jokes. And here is where you have the versions of men. So all men are crap and evil and nasty, rotten people, or they're just silly buffoons to be laughed at. More times than not, both. But in here, that's the deal. So she goes on about how, after she and her boyfriend banged, and she sent him a message that that was fun. You put a smile on my face, or something like that. And they all go, "Oh, whoa, that's thirsty. That's too," and it was. It's just stupid. Like, oh, you see, that's why he didn't respond, because you sound desperate. And it's just lazy and stupid. And it's supposed to be hilarious, but it just isn't. And so there you go. That's what they're there for and all of that. So, gee, why did Josh not respond to poor Jen? So I was beginning to think, oh, maybe he got abducted. And no. So they, at the end, all of a sudden, they just go back to that night. And after she's sound asleep, he gets her blood and sends a message to his boss. And he's a secret agent. And he takes a picture of her. And, she's in bed and she's on her stomach, but still, she's not wearing any clothes. And I guess he sends that to his boss too, who may or may not be Blonsky. I don't know. So, of course, the good guy who was nice to her and she really liked him, and it was all a ruse to get her blood. And so you see, there's no good men. There's only good men. There's only evil men and idiots, and most of the time a combination of the two. So that's the message there for that. Perhaps, just perhaps, they will, like I said, that he really is Wyatt Wingfoot, and this is a Skrull version leading into Secret Invasion, and eventually she'll meet the real guy, and it'll be nice and everything. But also, they got Blonsky there, Roth to play the part and everything, and they're just going to have him do these silly scenes and whatnot. No, it's all a ruse, and he's up to no good for whatever reason. And and that would be typical superhero plot and stuff like that, and all well and good. But the problem is, this has just been terrible. The plotting here is awful. It's just a slap job of a show, and apparently this is the reshot version. Apparently, they tell, oh, you got to reshoot this. It's terrible. Well, the old saying of polishing a turd, even a green one. So, it wasn't the last episode. That's the best I can say about it. But, oh, God, this is a bad show. It's just awful. It's still, Falcon and Winter Soldier is the worst because of the ethic it presented, which is just absolutely awful. This one is a bad ethic too, because it's mostly misandrous with some misogyny thrown in it. But it's just, overall, it's just really stupid. Kind of like Loki. So, and a wasted opportunity. So, anyway. So, I don't anticipate it getting any better. And still no Daredevil, not yet. I'm assuming they're saving that for the final show. Maybe Matt Murdock would show up in something, but that would make sense if this actually was. They call it She-Hulk Attorney at Law. It's not, it's going to be a superhero legal drama. It isn't. There's very little lawyer stuff, but of course the writers in their chicken coop admitted, giggle tee, we don't know anything about courtrooms. Well, it's your job to learn it and research it and look for a consultant who could help you with that. No. Anyway, another episode of She-Hulk in the can and down the commode.